As the wise Mrs. Incredible once said, leave the saving of the world to the men? I don't think so. Today we are counting down some of the most powerful female superheroes that Marvel has ever come up with. Number 10, Polaris. Polaris, as the daughter of Magneto, it's understandable that she would be wickedly powerful. Her real name is Lorna Dane. She is considered an alpha-level mutant, renowned for her mastery over magnetism. She inherited her father's terrifying abilities, quite frankly, allowing her to manipulate magnetic fields, control metal, generate force fields, and even fly by riding magnetic currents. Polaris can unleash devastating electromagnetic pulses, disrupt electronic systems, and assemble complex machinery with a mere thought. Her powers have proven crucial in countless battles alongside the X-Men and X-Factor, and her control has grown to rival that of her legendary father. In a terrifying display of her abilities, Polaris once manipulated the iron in an entire crowd of people's blood, making them all pass out by reversing the flow direction. Beyond her raw power, Lorna's intelligence and resilience makes her a menacing force both as a leader and protector of mutant kind. Number 9, another mutant, Rogue. Rogue, Miss Anna Marie, is one of Marvel's most powerful, complex, and fan-favorite mutants. As a prominent member of the X-Men from Earth 616, Rogue's signature ability is the power to absorb the memories, abilities, and even life force of others through physical touch. This makes her incredibly dangerous, as she can technically eliminate people without meaning to, but it has also proven to be a strength, as she can temporarily gain the powers of anyone that she comes into contact with, including some of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe. Most famously, Rogue seemingly permanently absorbed the powers of Carol Danvers, granting her superhuman strength, flight, and near invulnerability in addition to her mutant ability. Her combination of raw power, versatility, and combat skills make her a force to be reckoned with, feared by her enemies, and with her heart, wit, and charm, respected by her allies. Recently, Rogue's powers were increased, and she can absorb power from a distance. Despite the burden of her powers, Rogue remains a heroic figure, constantly striving to control her abilities and use them for good. Number 8, the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, is one of Marvel's most powerful superheroes and a founding member of the Fantastic Four. Her powers originated from cosmic radiation that granted her the ability to turn herself and other objects invisible by bending light waves / manipulating ambient cosmic energy. More impressively, Sue can project and manipulate invisible psionic force fields with incredible versatility. These force fields can be shaped into nearly indestructible shields, offensive weapons like darts, or large constructs spanning miles, capable of levitating or protecting entire buildings. She can even block out the sunlight for a few days, which she did do and accidentally caused a mass extinction event as expected. Sue's force fields also provide mental protection against telepathic attacks and can interact with other psychic energies. Her power level is so formidable that even Doctor Doom has acknowledged her as the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four, and she has feats such as holding back explosions, defeating powerful foes solo, and even rupturing the shell of a Celestial, which is really hard to do. Her abilities extend beyond invisibility, making her a strategic and devastating force in combat and defense, often underestimated but truly one of Marvel's heaviest hitters. And I think I speak for everyone when I say that we are very excited to see the Invisible Woman back on the big screen this summer. Number 7, Sersi. Sersi is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe, belonging to the race of superhuman Eternals. Her primary and most dangerous ability is matter transmutation, allowing her to rearrange the molecular and atomic structure of both living and non-living matter with a skill far surpassing any other Eternal. This power enables her to permanently transform objects and beings, even down to the subatomic level, making her a unique 5th level adept in this domain. Besides her transmutation skills, Sersi possesses superhuman strength, agility, telekinesis, telepathy, and the ability to project cosmic energy, granting her virtual immortality and invulnerability. She can also cast illusions and control minds and teleport, although the teleportation stuff is kind of unpleasant for her. Her powers have earned her a place among the Avengers and recognition as one of the most powerful Avengers and Eternals. Notably, her molecular manipulation is so advanced that even the Eternal leader feared her capabilities, and she's been ranked highly in power among her peers. Number 6, America Chavez. America Chavez is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe. I know we say that about everybody, but I really do mean it. Endowed with a unique set of superhuman abilities that make her nearly indestructible. She possesses superhuman strength and speed and durability. She can survive unaided in the vacuum of space. Her signature power is the ability to create star-shaped portals that allow her to travel across dimensions in the multiverse, making her one of the few heroes capable of interdimensional travel at will. America also has hyper-cosmic awareness, enabling her to sense disruptions in space and time and navigate the multiverse with precision. She can channel extra-dimensional energy to enhance her physical attacks, sometimes releasing powerful energy blasts capable of injuring cosmic-level beings like Captain Marvel. Additionally, America Chavez has an extended lifespan and is a skilled hand-to-hand combatant. Loki has described her as a nearly indestructible woman who can throw tanks at the moon, underscoring her immense strength and resilience. Overall, America Chavez stands out as an intimidating cosmic hero with vast powers that extend beyond physical might to include reality bending and multiversal travel.
Number 5. Kandra. Kandra is part of the Externals, and as such has spent a good amount of her comic book history being a pretty powerful villain. The Externals are immortals who can't be killed, except on the rare occasion when they can, because comics. And because hey, every character has to have a weakness. For Externals, they can be killed by having another external kill them if their hearts are consumed by said foe. Kandra is an immensely powerful telekinetic who also possesses some telepathic abilities, but she is also just deadly because of how ruthless she is and because of all of her connections, because she's so old. She not only is powerful in her own right, but also holds sway over other powerful mutants and allies. By the way, Externals are different from Eternals, in case you were wondering, though both are godlike but in different ways. And both are from Marvel, which is confusing. But yeah, Externals, Eternals. Number 4. Viranki. Queen Viranki is the main antagonist of the Secret Invasion storyline. Disguised as Spider-Woman, she, along with many of her undercover Skrulls, managed to infiltrate and, in secret, invade Earth. Hence the name of the story, Secret Invasion. Viranki is less about killing and more about conquering, but usually when it comes to conquering a planet, you're probably gonna have to break a few eggs. And when I say break a few eggs, I mean kill a few humans. As a Skrull, Viranki is capable of shapeshifting. She also can employ a special Skrull ritual in order to grant herself the memories and powers of those she is impersonating. And of course, as a queen, she also has armies at her beck and call. Or she did, until she was ultimately defeated and killed by one of the most evil characters in Marvel Comics and one of the most deadliest male villains, Norman Osborn. Also, where's my deadly male villain list? Number 3. Madelyne Pryor. Also known as the Goblin Queen. Madelyne Pryor was a pilot in Alaska who once got Summer's heart in part because, well, she looked exactly like his thought dead ex-teammate and lover, Jean Grey. Nothing gets someone going like being like, wait, you look like someone that just died that I was in love with. Oh, I'm so into this. I'd be like, I'm so traumatized by you, I definitely don't want to be around you. But hey, to each their own. It was later revealed to comic readers and Maddie herself after she married Scott and had a child with him that she was in fact Jean's clone, created using a piece of the Phoenix Force by Mr. Sinister, as part of a plot to create the perfect mutant, her son, baby Christopher, who'd grow up to become Nathan Summers, aka Cable. Mr. Sinister intended to steal the baby for himself and then destroy Maddie, having no further need for her. That's so rude. When she discovered she was Jean's clone and that Sinister was her creator, she ended up suffering from a mental break that in essence turned her evil. She made a pact with a demon and planned on sacrificing her son and other children in order to gain power, but ended up being stopped by the X-Factor and the X-Men teams. She has been thought dead, and actually dead, a few times in the comics, and made a recent return in 2020's Hellion series. And then we all realized, oh yeah, we totally forgot that Madelyne Pryor is still alive and has been for a while. I'm sorry. I feel bad for her. She returned as a villain once more, and after her return was shortly thereafter defeated and is now presumed dead. But only time will tell if that remains true. Number 2. Harpy. And more specifically, Red Harpy, as you may have noticed from our thumbnail for this video. Harpy is basically the evil version of Betty Ross, Bruce Banner's love interest and ex-wife. Harpy came into being when MODOK used gamma radiation to transform her into a winged monster, who would make a pretty fitting opponent meant for the Hulk. Her exposure to gamma radiation not only made her the amazingly strong green monster known as the Harpy, but also drove Betty insane, making it easy for MODOK to manipulate her and use her to do his bidding. After becoming Red She-Hulk, we'd later also see an even more horrific version of Harpy when Betty returned as the immortal Red Harpy. Harpy in general is considered to be one of the strongest villains around and is strong enough to take on the Hulk face to face in a fight. One-on-one. She can also heal, fly, and possesses razor-sharp claws and talons. Number 1. Saturnyne. That's Magistrix Opal Luna Saturnyne to you. Also known as the White Witch, Saturnyne is likely one of the most deadly villains on this list, considering just how powerful she is, and just how unpredictable she is. Of course, you still have a chance of getting past her if she happens to be in a particularly good mood. The thing about Saturnyne is that she isn't outright evil. She's more of an all-powerful character who becomes a powerful villain simply because she wants to have fun, or because she wants something that others refuse to grant her. She can be both a powerful ally and a powerful enemy, but you definitely do not want her as an enemy. Trust me. Saturnyne is a deadly magic user who comes armed with the magic of Otherworld, and as the Omniversal Guardian and Magistrix is basically god level when it comes to the mischief that she is capable of. Number 10. Black Cat. Black Cat is only rounding out the bottom of this list because she is so ever changing when it comes to her alignment and so much more complicated of a character to be considered either a hero or a villain, really. But she definitely is a very capable and dangerous criminal, when she needs to be, or when she wants to be, which is why she still makes the cut. When it comes to going up against Black Cat, odds are good you probably don't want to. In fact, she might not even be someone you want as an ally, considering that Black Cat could in fact be ready to double cross you at a moment's notice. Felicia Hardy is definitely one of the most dangerous thieves around when it comes to Marvel Comics, making her one of the publisher's most deadly, sometimes villain. Number 9. Bloodlust. Bloodlust was one of the villainesses that ended up joining the Femme Fatales. The Femme Fatales were an all-female supervillain group who were for a time working alongside Superia's Femizons in a plot to take over the world. She would end up being a mutant who lost her powers on M-Day, but when she did have them, they were very similar to Wolverine and X-23's. Bloodlust, whose real name is Beata Dubiel, actually predates X-23 in terms of her first appearance. Pretty cool facts. She first appeared in the comics in Marvel Comics Presents in 1990. After she lost her powers though, she became a skilled assassin who fought with small, stiletto-like blades. Powered, Bloodlust was believed to be as strong and deadly as Wolverine. Depowered, she was still a skilled enough fighter to give Domino a run for her money. Before we move on to our next number, just a quick reminder to give this video a thumbs up if you are enjoying it. It really does help us out. Number 8. Emma Frost. Emma Frost is only ranking solo on the list because she is a reformed villain now in the comics, but that doesn't mean that she is any less deadly now that she is a hero. As a villain, she managed to swap bodies with Storm and infiltrate the X-Men. As a mutant and a person, Emma is so skilled and so badass that she even manages to use other mutant skills better than even they can. Like when she swapped bodies with Iceman and showed him up. Beyond that though, even just as a woman, not even considering her especially strong diamond form or masterful telepathic powers, Emma is pretty remarkable and dangerous. She's just a powerhouse who knows how to bargain when it comes to business dealings and relishes the power she wields as the White Queen of the Hellfire Trading Company, and formerly the Hellfire Club, because that's what the trading company used to be. But anyways, now the Hellfire Club is a bunch of kids that are villains, so modern time comics. Number 7. Mind Blast. We are going back to the Femme Fatales for a little bit here. This member of the team was actually first introduced in the 90s in Amazing Spider-Man issue 340. She is not only a mutant but also a cyborg. Her mutant powers grant telekinetic abilities which she can use to fly and manipulate other objects. In addition, she also possesses the power of telepathy via her cybernetic enhancements, which grant her telepathic shielding and allow her to create quite convincing psychic illusions. Convincing enough to lure some of the X-Men, including Psylocke, into a trap. Which in my mind, if you're tricking Psylocke with like telepathic illusions, you're pretty good. Number 6. Elektra. Elektra is one of the most skilled and dangerous women out there, both when she's acting as a villain and when she's acting even as a hero. Like Emma, she also ranks a little bit lower due to the fact that she is currently attempting to prove she can be good and operating under the codename Daredevil. So not super villainous right now. However, part of the appeal with Elektra is while an ally to Daredevil, she has never been completely good and in general is considered as more being a villain than a hero. Initially, she didn't possess any powers but was an incredibly skilled fighter, assassin, and ninja. Since being resurrected by the Hand, however, she does have some powers. She can low-key possess other people's minds, using this to track down her targets. It's also been revealed that she has other mental and telepathic abilities and fighting techniques. Gotta love those mental fighting techniques. Mental screams. Ah! This is why I should never get any kind of sonic scream, because I would just sound ridiculous. Not my mutant power. Okay. Number 5. Aegis. Aegis is one of the Proemil gods who are known for being the oldest in the cosmos. They are believed to have come into existence right after the first Big Bang and were possibly the first entities that existed after that. Although, to be honest with you, with gods and goddesses, it seems like a lot of groups claim to be the oldest or the first. Aegis was one member of the Proemil pantheon to become corrupted, seeking new purpose after she was no longer needed. Attempting to rise up with her fellow rebellious gods, she ended up imprisoned along with her peers by Galactus, and she remained there for many years, although she would eventually escape and would later perish. Her power was said to rival that of Galactus and his heralds combined. That's pretty powerful. Number 4. Phoenix. One of the most powerful entities in the cosmos is the Phoenix Force. While the Phoenix doesn't always take a female host, I would say that many of the Force's hosts have been female, especially if we're focusing on the more notable ones. Currently in the comics, the Phoenix Force is bonded to Echo, aka hero Maya Lopez, but its most well-known host is probably that of Marvel Girl, aka classic X-Men teammate Jean Grey. You might not think of Phoenix as a god either, but the entity has been worshipped both by some on planet Earth in the past and by the Shi'ar at one point. Number 3. Celestial Madonna. Celestials are known for being all-powerful and almost impossible to defeat or fight against. We got our first taste of just how ginormous and seemingly unstoppable they can be in Eternals when the team of heroes decided to stand together to prevent the Celestials from destroying Earth, which they had decided to defend as their home. Most Celestials tend to skew male or simply could be considered to be without gender, but Celestial Madonna is unique as she is one of the few featured Celestials to actually have a seemingly female form. Celestial Madonna has only appeared in a few issues, but she is a Celestial, so we can imagine that she must be one of the most powerful, probably female, gods or goddesses around in the Marvel Universe. Because Celestials. Number 2. Gaia. Gaia is literally known as Mother Earth in the Marvel Universe. She made her first appearance back in the 1970s in the 1974 series of Doctor Strange, in issue number 6. Back then she was introduced as Mother Nature but would later become known as Gaia. Gaia is believed to be one of the oldest goddesses on the planet Earth and is related to the god of chaos, Chthon, who is also known for his ties to Avenger Scarlet Witch in the comics. Gaia belongs to the family of elder gods, and like many on this list, is going to be kinda hard to rank because she's pretty much maxed in almost all stats, considering that she is an extremely ancient being and entity. Basically, I feel like with this list, it's really hard to put them in any order because you're like, I mean, they're all pretty powerful. So yeah, you can let me know if you have a different order for the ones that I have here based on what you've read in the comics about them. Number 1. Death. Death is an entity we are familiar with in a few different forms, but for this point I'm going to be focusing on the version that Thanos is typically seen pining after, which is honestly typically the version we associate with Death when we're talking about her in the Marvel Universe. Sometimes referred to as Mistress Death, she made her first appearance in Marvel Mystery Comics issue number 21 back in the 1940s. So not only is she old and ancient in the world of the Marvel Universe, but also within Marvel Comics history as well. Number 10. Stained Glass Scarlet. Stained Glass Scarlet is a young god who came into existence following her own death. That is, following the death of her mortal self, Scarlet Facinera. Scarlet had a tragic and rough life, filled with mistreatment by the men who she would have likely expected to trust the most. After her death in the same church where both her son and her husband also lost their lives, her story spread, gaining power. This power allowed Scarlet to return as a young goddess, who is connected to Moon Knight, seemingly immortal and possesses the ability to control glass. Number 9. Storm. While Storm might not be a god in the traditional sense, she was worshipped as a weather goddess for quite a while because of her abilities. And considering how powerful she is, and how much we all love her, I think we would all agree that she has more than earned her goddess status. When it comes to Storm's power levels, we have seen them spike to the point that the whole world was affected by her weather manipulation abilities. At the same time that this happened, as a reaction to her then claustrophobia, her power was also likened to that of the Phoenix, partially because it was so awesome and partially because it was so volatile. Over the years, Storm has gained more and more control over her powers and also healed from the trauma that caused her claustrophobia, meaning that she is pretty much in full control now. And she proved more recently in the comics during her battle against Tarn the Uncaring that she also doesn't need her mutant powers to be a deadly badass. Also, I feel like she's definitely in control of the ability to just manipulate weather on a planetary level, because we've seen her do that with Mars. At least I'm pretty sure she's done that on Mars. So yeah, there's also that. And friends, if you are loving this list and you would love to see some more lists where we get to pump up some of the most powerful ladies in Marvel Comics or DC Comics or indie comics or all of the above, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Hera. Hera is a member of the Pantheon of Olympus. She is a Greek goddess who traditionally is associated in Greek mythology and belief with motherhood, family, childbirth, and marriage. In Marvel, she is likewise the wife of Zeus, but more recently in the comics, her and the other Olympians took a turn to become powerful villains. They were killed by the vengeful goddess Nyx and later returned as tyrannical and greedy gods who raised planets with a vengeance. In the end, they were defeated by the Guardians of the Galaxy, lost as Star-Lord was lost on the other side of reality. Eventually though, Star-Lord learned the Dark Olympians had escaped due to him using his elemental gun, where their power had been trapped and stored. They returned with him back to Earth and were more permanently defeated, at least so it seems, when they were seemingly killed by the Guardians, Hera included. She was squashed in the end by Groot. R.I.P. Hera. Number 7. Hela. Hela is the ruler of the Norse and Asgardian underworld. While in the MCU we know her as Loki and Thor's mysterious sister who was locked away in punishment for her continuous pursuit of war against Odin's wishes after he ultimately decided to kinda usher in an era of peace. In the comics main continuity of Earth 616, she is not Thor's sister, but instead, she's his niece. That's right, the Hela of Earth 616 is believed to be one of Loki's children, his daughter. She ended up becoming the ruler of the underworld as was decreed by Odin. Though just because she isn't a shunned sister who seeks revenge on Asgard doesn't mean that she isn't a villain, and doesn't mean that she doesn't sometimes try to seek revenge on Asgard. Even on Earth 616, Hela is known for her generally villainous intentions, and there was even a prophecy when she was born warning that she would be a great danger to the other gods and goddesses of Asgard. Number 6. Enchantress. Amora the Enchantress is one of the most powerful magic users in the Marvel Universe, and also happens to be a goddess within the realm of Asgard. She has been known by many names other than Amora, including Idun and Idunna, but what she has symbolized has always remained the same. Enchantress is meant to be the symbol of the perfect female form, known for her beauty and charm, which allows her to bend others, especially men, to her will. It is because of her beauty that Enchantress was deemed the only one to pick the golden apples from Yggdrasil. Although her backstory and origin are steeped in lore and Norse mythology, in the comics most people know her mainly as a villainess, who often goes up against the hero Thor, among others. Number 5. Iska the Unbeaten. Iska is a super interesting character. On one hand, she's extremely powerful and can never lose. She can even potentially have her power utilized to manipulate the stakes of other competitions that she is pulled into herself. However, this also implies that there are times when she has zero control over her powers, in the sense that she cannot influence the result of an unbalanced battle. In fact, her powers will pull her to serve the side that will be victorious, regardless of whether or not she wants to in terms of what her mind or her heart says says to her. This means that Iska has been forced to turn her back on her own people, the mutants of Arakko, more than once. She's also had to fight against her own family and colleagues before as a result. Although the one thing she can control at times is how she fights in a battle, which I think is interesting. Meaning if she has the option, she can basically try to fight others involved as opposed to those that she's close to. Despite the fact that she has done her best by choosing her opponents to help mitigate how she might be used to turn the tide in a battle, she still is sometimes painted unfairly, I would say, as a villain, when really she is a strong warrior who simply sometimes has no say in terms of her allegiances thanks to her powers. I really hope we get to see more of her and get to dive more into how being forced to turn on her allies at times has truly, probably deeply affected her. Number 4. Wasp, Nadia Van Dyne. Janet even got replaced basically by her adoptive daughter, a younger version of the Wasp, Nadia Van Dyne, who was actually Hank's biological daughter from his previous marriage, who, well, he basically never knew existed. Nadia returned to the US after escaping the Russian Red Room, only to find out that Hank had actually died. She ended up bonding with Janet and ultimately taking up the Wasp mantle with her blessing, also taking her last name as well. I don't mind too much that Nadia is also now the Wasp. I just wish that Janet could also remain relevant while this was going on. In fact, despite Nadia also being a cool new character, I don't even think that she has stayed very relevant since her very recent introduction to the comic, which is unfortunate as well. Wasp is so cool, but yet we can't have any Wasps that are super important lately. Number 3. Madeline Pryor. I'm sure many of you at this point know how I feel about Maddie, but for those who don't, Madeline Pryor is basically the evil clone of Jean Grey, who initially wasn't evil at all. She's also been known before as the Goblin Queen. However, the fact that Maddie was always shafted and then eventually realized that the choices made in her life were manipulated and orchestrated into happening by Mr. Sinister prompted her to basically have a mental breakdown, honestly pretty reasonable, and turn on those who she had once called her allies and friends. That's when she ends up becoming the Goblin Queen. Number 2. Scarlet Witch. M-Day has to have been one of the worst moments in mutant history. M-Day happened in 2005 in the comics as a result of Scarlet Witch striking out at mutant kind after the events of House of M, where she attempted to create a reality where many heroes were happy, but after learning of its falseness, was once again rejected by all those she had actually tried to help here. Pretty devastating, especially when, while Wanda was warping reality here, she was doing so in an effort to not only defend herself, but also make herself and all of her friends happy. In fact, I would argue her friends and teammates, the Avengers, were somewhat, and in fact I would say just full on, complicit in what happened, since they never really reached out to Wanda to try and help her when she was struggling emotionally, prompting her to warp reality, which ultimately led to her wiping out almost all mutants during M-Day. And if you don't believe me that that is the case, I mean there's literally an alternate reality where if Jessica Jones was there, pretty much none of this would have happened, so yeah. M-Day happened mainly because Wanda was striking out at her believed to be father at the time, Magneto, who she claimed loved mutant kind more than he did his own family. Wanda said the words "no more mutants," and with that small utterance, depowered or destroyed millions of mutants the world over. An action that would cement her as one of the greatest mutant villains in comics for years beyond, despite her long-standing history before this working as a hero. Number 1. Wasp. Ultimates. Oh boy, probably the worst one, I would say. Pretty bad. Janet Van Dyne's death in the Ultimate Universe has to be, honestly, one of the worst things. First of all, we don't even show her enough respect to give her an on-panel death, as she drowns during the tidal wave in Ultimatum, one of the many poor victims who perished off-panel, despite, like many others, deserving an on-panel death. But really, when we're talking about those that deserved an on-panel death, Jan is really top tier. She's really high up there, especially considering Janet was actually the leader of the Ultimates at this point. So not only are we off to a bad start here, but then she also gets eaten by the Blob for some reason. It's also weird that they decided to make the Blob do this. I know he's a bad guy, I know he's a villain, but he isn't typically known to like be a cannibal anywhere else in the Marvel multiverse, pretty much ever. The Ultimate Universe had a weird and unhealthy obsession with cannibalism initially, at least it felt like. Number 10. Captain Marvel. In the comic book Avengers issue 197, published in 1980, Carol Danvers, who is then known as Miss Marvel, discovers that she is pregnant. However, she has no recollection of how it happened, and the baby grows at an alarming rate. Shortly after that, in Avengers issue 200, Carol gives birth to the baby, who also grows up at an alarming rate, and names himself Marcus. The Avengers seem excited about the birth, despite the bizarre circumstances of it, and Carol is made to feel like she is basically over overreacting by not sharing in their enthusiasm and excitement for her. As Marcus grows, it is revealed that he is actually the son of Immortus, a ruler of Limbo, not Magic's Limbo, but a different Limbo. Immortus, by the way, is one of the alternate timeline incarnations of Kang the Conqueror. Immortus had impregnated a woman he had plucked from time, Marcus's mother, and Marcus was trapped in Limbo until he could be born on Earth. Marcus had basically brought Carol to Limbo, specifically mentioning that she actually reminded him of his mother, a little weird, and used charm and his father's subtle manipulation devices and methods to impregnate her so that he could be born on Earth. Yikes. In the end, despite the large piles of red flags, many piles of red flags everywhere, Carol decides randomly that she actually feels empathy for Marcus, not knowing whether this is coming from herself or actually from his influence over her, and her friends and colleagues, her family, the Avengers, just basically smile and wave goodbye as she rides off into the sunset with the man who she is most definitely a victim of. Her lover turned son turned sort of love once more, Marcus Immortus. Oh boy. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, and if you love when we talk about some of the more questionable things that have been done in comics, be sure to let us know by clicking that subscribe button. Number 9. Photon. While Monica Rambeau may finally be seeing some appreciation in the comics today, this wasn't always the case. I would say she started off with a bang in the comics, but then shortly after was kind of shafted multiple times over. Needless to say, she did recently get a 5-issue mini written by Eve Ewing, no relation to Al Ewing by the way, which I am super excited to read, but I personally think Monica deserves a whole ongoing series all her own. That's how awesome and powerful she is. Number 8. Rogue. So I'm not going to lie, I actually love Rogue's weakness. Former weakness now, I guess. Rogue was one of my favorite characters growing up, and I think what I loved about her so much was the tragedy of her story and her powers. But what's even more, I love the way that Rogue overcame them in the comics. Still, in overcoming her fears to gain full control over her powers, Rogue actually became kinda harder to write, I think. She's just honestly too powerful. This is why I feel like we don't get as many Rogue-focused stories these days in the comics. Sure, she and Gambit have their team-up series going on, but I was really hoping for a Rogue solo story during the days of Krakoa. Jonathan Hickman planned to write one, but ultimately decided against it when he agreed to hand over creative control to his X-Men team, as opposed to staying in charge of the main plot of the Krakoa era as the head of X-Desk. I still really want that Hickman Rogue story, and I'm hoping that we get it, because yeah, I feel like there's so much more we could do with Rogue in the comics. Number 7. Jean Grey. Despite being written as a powerhouse in the comics, Jean has a long history of weird choices being made for her character. And also initially she was basically just written to be a damsel in distress for a lot of the early days of the X-Men. She has constantly been killed off, in some cases to advance the story of her male heroic counterparts, whether that be motivating them to take some action or simply kind of freeing them from their romantic obligation to her. Number 6. Wasp. Janet Van Dyne. In the Ultimate Universe, Janet wasn't treated very well, but I'd also argue in the main continuity, Janet has had it, honestly, pretty rough. Initially, she was kind of like the sidekick to Ant-Man, and then it was revealed that he was not mentally stable, meaning that Janet, as his wife, had to put up with a lot, considering that Hank was later believed to be undiagnosed bipolar. Not blaming Hank for his own mental illness here, but just acknowledging that as a result, Janet had a lot that she had to live with as his partner and cope with. Eventually, the two do divorce, and then from a hero's perspective, Janet kind of slowly starts to fade away as Hank becomes less and less relevant. Number 5. Titania. Titania is Mary McFerrin, a girl who was known for her small stature and often mocked for it when she was young, and aspired to become something greater than what she felt she was born into. After being offered powers by supervillain Dr. Doom, she was transformed into the powerhouse known as Titania. Titania has been shown to be skilled and strong enough to defeat a whole wheelhouse of powerful superheroes, including Luke Cage and Iron Fist, as well as The Thing and Mr. Fantastic. She's also kicked the butt of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, is faster than a speeding bullet and Mjolnir itself, and can take a direct hit from the mythical hammer and be left completely unfazed by it. Now, some of this went on while her powers were boosted admittedly, but either way, Titania is not a villain you'd want to face in a fistfight. I would not want to face her in a fistfight, because my face would get punched into the next, into the nega zone. I'd be gone. You'd have no face left. Yikes. Number 4. Madam Hydra. Madam Hydra has close ties to quite a few superheroes and other famous villains, and we also for a time have known her under the codename Viper, which is also very important indeed given her obsession with snake venom in addition to other toxins and poisons. Madam Hydra's legal name is Ophelia Sarkinson, and like her codename implies, she is often known for being a ruler of Hydra and as a member of their High Council. She has close ties to Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman, who she has fought against and also sought to re-recruit, Wolverine, whom she was married to, and obviously Captain America, because Hydra. So yeah. As I said, Madam Hydra is fond of poisons, toxins, and venoms, and as such generally employs them for use as weapons through projectiles and even her lipstick. She also possesses near toxin immunity, which she obtained through frequent and carefully measured exposure. I wish that was true. What if you had actually, isn't that kind of how allergies work? Can't you be like exposed to them in like small amounts and then you can overcome your allergy? I don't know if that's true, but that might be true. It might be science. Don't try that if you're allergic to something and like you die. Don't do it though, because I think then it doesn't work. Number 3. Moonstone. Like many of the deadliest and most villainous women in Marvel, Moonstone is really just a woman looking to put herself before others. She's always out to get what she needs first, which generally makes her a villain. But there have been times when Karla Sofin has both posed as a hero and also truly tried to be a hero. She was part of Baron Zemo's Thunderbolts, built out of his Masters of Evil team, and rebranded and disguised as superheroes, following the apparent destruction of most of Earth's heroes by Onslaught. Following this, the Thunderbolts did attempt to truly become heroes under the leadership of Hawkeye, whom Karla started a relationship with. Moonstone was also the Miss Marvel equivalent to Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers team, acting far more villainously once more. She can manipulate gravity, making her super powerful and allowing her to basically augment much of her own abilities, including durability, strength, and speed. She can even turn herself invisible using her gravity manipulation, and she can teleport. Number 2. Mystique. One of the deadliest women out there when it comes to female villains has got to be my girl, Mystique. The best thing about Mystique too is she's really a relatable villain because a lot of times she's kind of just looking out for number 1, herself. Wow, did I just say she's relatable and then I talked about how selfish she was? I think people are all selfish to an extent, which is true. I think we are all selfish at times. And sometimes Mystique also just behaves evilly to look out for those she legitimately cares for, like her now dead wife Destiny and their adopted daughter Rogue, whether or not Rogue actually wants her help or protection. And so that is definitely relatable, I think. Looking out for other people, even sometimes when people are like, I don't want your help, and you're like, well, I'm still gonna help you because I love you. Her shape-shifting powers means that she can pose as pretty much anyone, and her skills in disguise and impersonation help to smooth over these appearances, allowing her to even move and act like those whom she adopts the identity of. Not only that, but Mystique is a skillful fighter and manipulator, so she's not someone you want to get on the bad side of. Trust me, other people have, and they have been backstabbed so many times, their back is basically like a knife block at this point. Yikes. Number 1. Hela. Hela is one of the most deadly villains when she wants to be. Like Mystique, Hela isn't always a villain. She's not inherently evil, but is capable of great evil if it is something that is needed for her to get what she needs or wants. As the ruler of Hell, she is immensely powerful when it comes to her magic and her physical strength as well. She's also a necromancer, being ruler of Hell, though she isn't someone who enjoys torturing the souls over which she rules or manipulating them into doing her bidding, unless, once again, it serves some greater purpose for her. Still, Hela is not someone you want to get on the bad side of, and more recently as we've seen her ally herself with Thanos, we've seen an even more malevolent side of her. So many deadly women and women who even rule over the dead. Number 10. Sapphire Styx. Sapphire Styx was a mutant villain powerful enough to turn Wolverine unconscious with her life-threatening powers. Her abilities allow her to steal the energy and life force of those she makes physical contact with, typically through kissing them. Kind of like Rogue, but without the power and memory absorption, and if she leaned into the harmful elements of her powers a little more. Sapphire did just that, and it is implied that she has been able to stay healthy and young for hundreds of years using her mutant ability. I love when we have like mutant vampirism. I love those powers. It's also believed she is powerful enough that she could use her mutant ability to kill her victims depending on her target's power level and resistance, of course. In the end, she was defeated and killed by Psylocke, who used her powers to avenge all the souls that Sapphire had ever drained, shattering her. Psylocke then used Sapphire's soul energy to rebuild her own body, becoming Betsy once more. Number 9. Knockout. Knockout has only made a few appearances in the comics since her first appearance in the 90s, but she is still a pretty deadly female villain and is super badass. She has worked within both the Villainous supergroup of the Femizons and the Femme Fatales. More recently, she was seen once again fighting alongside the Femme Fatales. Knockout is a mutant whose powers are enhanced strength, endurance, and durability. She's a skilled enough fighter that she was able to make quick work of Mutant Rogue when she faced her briefly in Hunt for Wolverine, Mystery in Madripoor. Number 8. Lady Mastermind. We could talk about both for this point, but I've decided to focus on Reagan Wingard, who popped up in Dawn of X, as opposed to Martinique, who is also the daughter of Jason Wingard, aka Mastermind. Mastermind OG. Even when it seems like Reagan has not been strong enough when it comes to her mutant powers to achieve the desired effect on her victims, she has proven skilled and resourceful enough to find a way to push through any mental blocks or willpower that those she targets possess. Her mutant powers allow her to create realistic illusions that in fact can even trick your body into responding to them as if they were real, meaning that her illusions can actually kill you. Yikes. Unlike her father, her powers also do not require her full and devout concentration to work. Lady Mastermind's illusions will persevere even if she goes unconscious, which is pretty powerful. She's basically like way more powerful than her dad. And before we move on to our next spot, time for the most YouTube of moments where I ask you to kindly click that like. Pretty please? Number 7. Yelena Belova. Yelena Belova has always been the rival to Black Widow since way back when she was training in the Red Room Academy. She always aimed to be the best of the best and was driven crazy by her obsession to become the best operative out there. Belova at one point had her face swapped with Natasha's against her will, so that Nat could prove a point to her, basically that being a spy wasn't that great, to help convince her to come over to the good side of things, sort of. Belova will likely play a much less villainous role in the MCU, but in comics she has often been known as an antagonist to Black Widow. And she also has been Black Widow before. Although she is usually manipulated into being a villain, and the most evil thing about her is generally her competitiveness with Natasha, which we've already seen will be addressed in the Black Widow film, just based on the trailer. Belova has also acted as an ally to Natasha on occasion as well, despite the fact that she has lots of reasons to hate her. So yeah, it depends on what you're reading. She can be a villain, she can sort of be not really a hero, but an ally. She can be a hero in her own way. Number 6. Lady Bullseye. Maki Matsumoto is known for being one of the fastest fighters around. She is both believed to be faster than the Kingpin and Bullseye, who inspired her to become a killer under the same mantle, and Bullseye, who in fact inspired her to become a killer under that same mantle. She was saved by Bullseye when she was a little girl, who the Yakuza intended to sell for their own means. Bullseye, however, was tasked with wiping out those who would be responsible for her and many other victims' sale, and killed them before they could do so. Lady Bullseye is a skilled fighter, trained in wielding many different types of weapons, and proficient in many different kinds of martial arts. Oh, she also is apparently a lawyer, or at least understands law well enough to pose as one. She's both worked with Kingpin and successfully defeated him in combat, which I think is pretty impressive. Kingpin is not an easy person to defeat in a fight.
Now thankfully, Jane Foster as Thor has happened in the true 616 continuity, and it was really awesome. But for this point, we're gonna talk about What If number 10, and it's quite a bit different. In this timeline, it is Jane Foster who picks up the Hammer of Mjolnir for the first time, not Donald Blake. In this story, Jane accompanies Dr. Blake on his trip to Norway, and when he drops his cane into a ravine, like he normally does, she goes down there to get it for him instead. Striking the stick just like Donald Blake did, she becomes Thordis. Wielding the power of Thor, Thordis fights off the Saturn rock people and then turns the cane that she seems to have stolen from Donald Blake into a hairbrush to better fit in with her feminine alter ego, because I guess men don't use hairbrushes. She has pretty much the same adventures as Thor, but crucially, she is rejected by Odin for not being a man. This tracks all the way until the events of Ragnarok, when Odin decides to give the hammer back to Donald Blake because he just can't accept Jane as Thor. But then, as thanks for her time as the hero, Odin turns Jane into a different god and then marries her. Odin has always been kind of weird like that, so we're not surprised, but still a little little strange. Next up is Earth 999, a world where basically every single person has powers, things have gone apocalyptic, and where the daughter of Peter Parker, May Parker, is Venom. While her retired and cynical pops ain't too thrilled about that, she does actually have complete control over her symbiote thanks to her advanced and honed spider sense. She was eventually under the control of this kid who went by the name of the Red Skull, and thanks to her father and other Earth X classic heroes, she was saved, with Venom and her father, Spider-Man, going on to join the superpowered police force and fight crime and supervillain threats together. She eventually, after the passing of Death, was recruited by Kang the Conqueror as part of a multiversal team to fight the Apocalypse Twins. In addition to her proportional spider powers, plus the enhanced spider sense, she gains all the usual symbiote powers plus a few extra, like what seems to be a rudimentary form of telepathy, and she kind of has a huge amount of potential to become even more powerful if Marvel decides to. She's definitely one of the cooler incarnations of Venom, as are most characters in the Earth X world. But moving on from that one, the Legion of Night comes from a world where Mr. Sinister corrupted the genomes of those who underwent the mutant resurrection protocols on Krakoa in the new Krakoan age. Because of that, Sinister's control over humanity and mutantdom became pretty much supreme. Now, one of his experiments was combining the genetics of different mutants to create powerful chimeras to serve him, and it made for some pretty crazy awesome comic book moments. A particularly special project was turning the genes of Nightcrawler into a band of teleporting assassins. But this Legion of Night, while having leadership in the form of Sinister's female clone, Mother Righteous, also had field leaders. But one of them was Mr. Sinister's favorite Nightcrawler chimera, Wagnerine. Mixing the DNA of both Nightcrawler and Wolverine, Wagnerine was funnily enough more of a mix of Laura Kinney, X-23, and Nightcrawler, and she made for an excellent assassin and leader for Mother Righteous once she had been freed from the control of Mr. Sinister. Wagnerine ended up beating the odds and procreating with the Cyclops Nightcrawler, aka Summer Night, to create a golden mutant teleporter who seemingly teleported to a random location immediately after her birth, causing Summer Night to lose control of himself and fall victim to the influence of Sinister once again. Eventually, it was revealed that Mother Righteous had actually taken the child, and when that was revealed to Wagnerine, she defected. Now, fast forward 900 years later, and she was finally able to bring down Mother Righteous and go on to try and live a happy life with her baby. Moving on, in the alternate Earth M reality, the Silver Surfer finds Earth for Galactus to consume like he normally does, but he quickly decides to protect the planet from his master once he sees how many people live here, and he attacks Galactus instead. In return, Galactus quickly overpowers him, grows frustrated in the Surfer's resistance to him, and banishes him to Earth. Galactus decides that he wants to convince the Silver Surfer to return to him, so he is convinced to create a female being named Ardina from his technological matrix with the DNA of Surfer's old flame, Shalabal. Her role was to attract the Surfer and convince him that the people of Earth are not worth saving. However, they both fall in love with each other, and Ardina vows to be by the Surfer's side in his fight against Galactus. Seeing that his plan has failed, Galactus reabsorbs her back into the Galactus Matrix and erases her from existence, instead offering to spare Earth if the Surfer decides to come back to be his herald. Now, in the main 616 continuity, Ardina was created as basically a clone of Surfer himself, using a ritually prepared dagger to do so. In both cases though, Ardina has access to the exact same energies as the Silver Surfer. She could use the power cosmic, and even though she was technically a newborn, she had the potential to be just as powerful as the Surfer himself. And last up today, it's Shuri the Black Panther. The sister of King T'Challa of Wakanda, Shuri has for a long time wanted to be the first female Black Panther. After her brother helped train her to be able to do just that, and following her brother becoming incapacitated thanks to the inheritor Morlun, she got that wish. And the best part is that it happened in the main 616 continuity. Shuri became Queen of Wakanda and the next Black Panther, and her brother even refused to fully take the title back at first upon his recovery. During her rule as Black Panther, she would constantly come into conflict with splinter groups of Wakandans and with Namor and his Kingdom of Atlantis, but it turns out that almost everything was influenced by Dr. Doom, because of course it was. Eventually, her brother would come back to help her out against Doom and take over again as king, giving Shuri the opportunity to train under other heroes like Wolverine, Spider-Man, Black Widow, and Khazar. After the Phoenix Five showed up, she helped heroes come to Wakanda for safety before it was attacked by the Phoenix-powered Namor, and then a bit later during the incursions, her and her brother would launch attacks on Atlantis, all while T'Challa and Namor were working together in the Illuminati. A fact that would lead her to oust her brother to take the throne and Black Panther title yet again. But then the multiverse went completely belly up and all that didn't matter anymore. Take Captain Carter for example. If you've seen the Marvel Studios What If show or the Multiverse of Madness movie, you know alternate versions of Peggy Carter get the super soldier serum in place of Steve Rogers. Fans love this idea, even if it's strange for a British agent to become Captain America. There are a few different versions of Captain Carter to choose from, but they all generally share the same abilities. There was a version of the character appearing in Exiles #3 in 2018 who had a great costume. The one in the Disney Plus show joined the Guardians of the Multiverse, so she was clearly an exceptional version of the character. She has shown up in the cinematic universe sporting a jetpack and was able to give the Scarlet Witch a surprising run for her money, while other more powerful characters were felled pretty much instantly. She can be a bit more hot-headed than her Steve Rogers counterpart, but she has the power of fan love, and if you know anything about what that power can do, you know that Peggy Carter as Captain America is powerful. Also, definitely check out her series if you get the chance. That takes place on Earth 76. But from one alternate Captain America to another, on Earth 15061, Danielle Cage, the daughter of both Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, would eventually become the Captain America of her time. But this girl has much more going for her than Peggy does. Even though we all love you, Peggy, I'm sorry. Because let's be honest and think about this for a second. Thanks to her parentage, Danielle Cage has the subsonic flight and superhuman longevity of her mother, with the bulletproof skin of her father, plus the superhuman strength, durability, stamina, speed, and healing factor of both of them. Yeah, Danielle Cage doesn't just use the shield of Captain America, she is the shield, as she likes to say. She is an awesome Captain America. She arguably does not even need her shield, which is a controllable drone replica of the original one. Unfortunately, we don't really get to see much of this version of Danielle Cage, but we know Danielle is a force to be reckoned with, and as such, she is a Captain America who deserves to be on this list. Moving on though, Spider-Gwen, or Ghost Spider, is the Gwen Stacy from the alternate reality of Earth 65. In this reality, it is Gwen Stacy, not Peter Parker, who gets bitten by a genetically engineered super spider. This bite granted her superhuman strength, speed, toughened flesh, and pretty much all the spider-based powers that the regular Spider-Man would possess. But after she is depowered by Cindy Moon, Ghost Spider bonded with the Venom symbiote, becoming Gwenom, which after she learned how to control it gave her all the regular symbiote powers, plus obviously some even more awesome Venom powers. She is another fan favorite alternate spider hero, and as such has featured in tons of stories. But if you're looking for something to read where Ghost Spider is featured, I suggest Edge of Spider-Verse, where she first appeared, and her own self-titled comic series Spider-Gwen Volume 1 from 2015. Next up is Wanda Wilson. Wanda Wilson is the Deadpool of Earth 3010, but since she is one of a very few female Deadpools, she naturally is titled Ladypool. Now Ladypool joined the side of a group of rebels fighting against loyalists in the United States in her own universe, that were led by Ladypool's nemesis, General America. Now according to Wanda, the fight started when fascists in the federal government started to impose their will on the people. As a result, a schism in Congress occurred, generals took sides, and states declared independence, which led to the current predicament. I never thought this video would get political. Eventually, she is assisted by 616 Deadpool, and she ends up becoming a main part of the good Deadpool Corps, and eventually she becomes the leader of the group, sacrificing herself and the Corps ship in a fight against the evil Deadpool Corps and Galactus Pool. But stepping back into the Earth 616 reality for a sec, and looking at the time that Peter Quill stepped away from his role of Star-Lord to become Emperor of the Spartax Empire, the empire of his father and the reason for him being near immortal and superhuman and all that jazz. When he did that, Kitty Pryde, who if you don't know had a bit of a thing with Peter at the time and was hanging with the Guardians of the Galaxy, took over the role of Star-Lord in his place. Her mutant powers and her insane level of capability obviously put her a cut above a half Spartax, and instantly made her one of the most powerful versions of Star-Lord ever. That's not to mention her intelligence and skill as an engineer, plus her her mutant buddies also helped her to become uniquely gifted. Kitty Pryde is a pretty powerful mutant in Marvel Comics, but while with the Guardians of the Galaxy, she even became cosmically powerful thanks to the Black Vortex. Kitty Pryde is an awesome character who has honestly become scary capable with the Fall of X storyline. I really hope we get to see her in the MCU soon, and who knows, maybe they will touch on this little relationship too, maybe, I don't know.
Halfway point number 5, Kismet, or her, literally her. Kismet is an extraordinarily powerful cosmic being in the Marvel Universe, created through advanced genetic engineering by the Enclave. Her cells function as cosmic energy batteries, enabling her to absorb and store and manipulate vast amounts of cosmic energy for multiple effects, such as projecting concussive force blasts, levitating objects using anti-gravitons, rearranging matter on a molecular level, and generating rifts into warp space for near instantaneous travel. She possesses superhuman strength, capable of pressing 70 tons, can fly at speeds of Mach 10, and survive the vacuum of space without fatigue or aging. Kismet also has limited telepathic abilities, including understanding pretty much any language and also mind control. When severely injured, she can encase herself in a regenerative cosmic cocoon to heal. Her durability is so high that only attacks dispersing a significant portion of her molecules can actually harm her. She has faced and battled some of the most daunting cosmic threats, including Galactus and Thanos and intergalactic forces, underscoring her status as the world-ending level threat protector. My pronouns are she, but not her, because I could never be her. Number 4, possibly the most powerful mutant ever, we have Storm, also known as Aurora Monroe. Classified as an Omega level mutant due to her vast and versatile abilities to control the weather and atmosphere on a global and even extraterrestrial scale. She can manipulate temperature, precipitation, humidity, wind, lightning, and atmospheric pressure, enabling her to summon storms such as tornadoes or hurricanes, blizzards, and thunderstorms with precision and devastating effects. Beyond weather control, Storm can generate and channel electrical energy, fly by riding wind currents, and even manipulate air pressure inside of a person's body to cause pain. Her powers extend to cosmic phenomena, including solar winds and electromagnetic fields, and she can survive and operate in extreme environments. Additionally, Storm has a strong will that makes her resistant to psychic attacks and enhances her combat skills, making her a skilled fighter trained by several different heroes. Recently, she had also tapped into her magical abilities inherited from her ancestral lineage, allowing her to perform extraordinary feats such as opening controlled portals or pushing her new power beyond typical Omega level limits and potentially making her the strongest member of the X-Men. Her combination of mutant and magical powers, along with her traditional acumen, cements Storm's status as one of Marvel's most powerful and iconic characters. Number 3, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, or Carol Danvers, is an incredibly powerful Kree-human hybrid. Her powers stem from her hybrid physiology, which grants her the superhuman strength, stamina, agility, durability, and reflexes. She can fly at interplanetary speeds without the need for oxygen, survive in the vacuum of space, of course, and manipulate cosmic energy to generate devastating photon blasts capable of destroying enemy ships or powerful foes. Her strength is immense, she can support the weight of a celestial, and when fully empowered, can unleash energy blasts equivalent to nuclear explosions. Additionally, Captain Marvel possesses a regenerative healing factor that allows her to recover rapidly from injuries and also has a form of de-accelerated aging. She can absorb various forms of energy, enhancing her physical abilities and energy projection, and can temporarily transform into her binary form, which further amplifies her powers. Her 7th sense, because she's so cool, she doesn't even have a 6th one, she has a 7th sense, grants her a form of cosmic awareness, making her highly perceptive of threats. Trained as a pilot, spy, and combatant, she combines these skills with her vast powers to protect the universe on a cosmic scale. Number 2, Jean Grey. Of course Jean Grey is here, she has to be. Jean Grey is one of the most powerful mutants in the Marvel Universe, there's no ands, if, buts about it. Classified as an Omega level mutant due to her extraordinary telepathic and telekinetic abilities. As a telepath, she can read and manipulate minds, project her thoughts into others, create illusions, mentally stun opponents, and form psychic links, even communicating with animals of high intelligence. Her telekinesis allows her to fly, move, or manipulate objects and beings, create force fields, and project concussive blasts. When bonded with the cosmic Phoenix Force, her powers escalate to near godlike levels. She gains total telekinetic control over matter at the molecular level, can generate and absorb vast energies, convert her form to pure energy, manipulate space-time, and resurrect the deceased under certain conditions. The Phoenix Force manifests as a fiery cosmic bird around her, symbolizing her immense power. This combination makes Jean Grey a near unstoppable unstoppable force capable of feats such as defeating cosmic entities like Galactus, eliminating entire solar systems, and reshaping reality itself. Now, I knew when I was making this list that the #1 spot would go to none other than Wanda Maximoff, aka the Scarlet Witch. It's near impossible to find someone that compares to the Scarlet Witch's powers in the Marvel Universe or in the MCU. She wields a unique blend of mutant abilities and chaos magic that allows her to alter reality itself. Initially introduced with the power to manipulate probability through hexes, she evolved into an intimidating sorceress capable of warping the fabric of existence on a quantum level. Her chaos magic, bestowed by the demon Chthon, grants her the ability to reshape reality, creating highly realistic illusions and manipulate energy and matter with devastating effects. She has demonstrated power on par with cosmic entities, even resisting the Phoenix Force, one of the universe's most potent forces. Scarlet Witch can teleport across dimensions in time, control outcomes of events, and turn enemies' powers against them. Her reality-altering abilities were famously showcased in the House of M storyline, where she rewrote the world to her will, underscoring her status as the near-omnipotent force within the Marvel Universe. This combination of mutant genes and mastery of chaos magic places her in today's top spot as the most powerful superhero.